We are 2 days away from closing out what is said to be the longest month of the year. That's right, January. And now we're approaching a new month that's known for one of our most famous exports, reggae. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday segment of Jamaica Magazine. But before we delve into the show, just a reminder of a few things. COVID-19 is still a keep. So remember to wear your mask, sanitize, and be sure to either get your COVID-19 vaccination or the booster shot. And it's available free of cost at health centers island-wide. February 1 is inching closer. Just remember that. So please check for and pay any outstanding tickets by January 31. And 3, whether or not you walk, ride, or drive, do so with so much care. I'm Adrian Atkinson, and I'll catch you on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
On Get the Facts this week, we get an update from the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, on how it's supporting small businesses through its Ignite 3 program.
Welcome to Get the Facts. This is the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. The Development Bank of Jamaica, the DBJ for short, has a range of products and services that allow MSMEs to access grants, loans, and technical support with the aim of driving growth and development of this ecosystem. Today we speak with a beneficiary of Ignite 3, and this is a component of the Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems, BIGGE program, to hear how this financing has improved business. My guest is creative entrepreneur Kian Hutchinson of Kian Patrice Photo Art Design. Welcome to the program, Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you for having me.
And I know you want me to call you Kian, so we're doing that from here on out.
Okay.
All right, let's get the facts. Let's get the facts. Photo art design.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into photo art design?
All right. So I started out in photography, actually. And I remember being gifted a camera a really, really long time ago. And that started the journey.
Right.
So through photography, I remember starting to experiment with creative, photo editing.
Right.
And that led me down the rabbit hole that eventually led to digital art. So abstract art, different types of photo manipulation, etc.
Okay.
And so that was my journey in a nutshell.
All right, started with being gifted a camera. But how did you say, I want to do business with this? So you like art, but business?
Yeah. So I think that was a pretty organic evolution. I remember so funny story, the business part of it actually started through animal photography because completely random. So I adore dogs.
Right.
And I had a dog and I wanted some amazing pictures. And of course, my photographer friends would be, oh no, I'm not wasting time taking a picture of your dog. So I was like, I do it myself.
Right.
And then I started thinking other people would probably want this. And so I started to kind of advertise and kind of tell people, okay, I'm doing this. And then people took it seriously and started, saying, well, how much do I charge? And then I kind of said, oh, I should charge. And so that kind of, spearheaded that.
All right, so you started photography and you got interested in digital design. At what point did you say, I need some financial assistance?
So a friend of mine who is actually in the entrepreneurial space, she told me about DBJ and the Ignite program, the Ignite grant.
Right.
And I remember at the time I had wanted to kind of, scale up some of my equipment. And when she told me about it, I said, if I managed to get this grant, that could absolutely, jumpstart the next level in the creative process, right? Because then I'd have greater capacity. So as I said, my friend told me about it, and I remember thinking, there's no way that I'll get this. But she said, just try. I mean, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
And here I am.
Here you are. You said capacity a while ago, and I want to zoom in on that word, because you mentioned this camera, you mentioned photographing your dog, and now you're not photographing dogs anymore or animals. You're in hotels. You're doing murals. So, how did the support improve the efficiency of your operation?
So I remember, when I had the thrust to kind of start doing larger scale work, I was limited by the equipment that I had, because programs would be crashing on the computer that I had. The camera, because some of my work I use photography as a base. I mean, at the end point you probably wouldn't realize that, but that's the base. And if I'm working larger, I need to be able to have larger outputs.
Wait, let me just jump in here.
Yes.
Hold that point.
Yes.
Larger. Define larger for me. We're not talking about the difference between a photo and a poster.
No.
We're
talking about, 8 feet by 20 feet, or larger than that sometimes. So it's objectively large. I mean, everything is subjective, I suppose, but I think reasonably people would consider, 20 feet wide pretty large.
So things that can print big.
Yes.
All right. Yes, you were telling us about the constraints.
So the grant absolutely helped me to jumpstart that efficiency, to improve that efficiency, because I was limited by the equipment I had prior. Things would crash, programs would crash. The cameras wouldn't be able to output the large scale images that I needed to create this work.
Right.
And so having had the grant, which afforded me to access and to buy all of these things that I needed, oh my gosh, I can't even think, because they cost, significant money, especially for us just starting out business.
Because you're getting everything pretty much.
Yeah. And keep in mind, it's a grant, it's not a loan. Huge difference there.
All right. So having gotten this grant, you are now able to deal with larger work. I'm making sure I'm getting the words right. And efficiency is improved. Consistency as well as a business. Because what's different about being someone doing art for yourself and a business providing a service?
Oh, everything. Deadlines, multiple jobs at one time. And so if you have equipment, so as an example, I do 99% of my work on my iPad Pro. And the version that I had prior to this one, it would sometimes take long to render things. It would freeze up midway, and so each individual work's process would take longer because of those constraints. Right. So now when I have equipment that can keep up with what I need, I can multitask, I can get things out faster, and then that enables me to work in greater scale, to get things out faster as well.
So like me, you can have 80 tabs open and render a picture and probably edit a little video out there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm getting that. So, I find it interesting talking to a creative entrepreneur, because, oftentimes when we hear about entrepreneurship, it's about hiring people and doing processes. But you used Ignite to build the capacity to do the kind of work that you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
So the vision was important.
And that's something that I would really want to underscore. I think going in, and to be fair, the process itself, the support that the whole the grant structure afforded me, was to help me to become even more clear as to what my intention was.
Right.
And so to structure everything around that.
All right. I'm going to stop you right there. The government, through the DBJ, is providing access to financing for MSMEs, and there are different products available based on the stage of your business. And as we are getting the facts right now, the kind of business The conversation with Ms. Hutchinson, Kian, continues on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Get the Facts. We are continuing our conversation with creative entrepreneur Kian Hutchinson of Kian Patrice Photo, Art and Design. So, we closed our previous segment talking about the support that the DBJ and through the Ignite process gave you. And I want to talk about that some more, because when we hear the Ignite grant, I think money. But the DBJ has always said it's not just money. So,
True.
what was your process like? There's a few things you did and how they helped you.
Sure. Okay, so a starting point that I think is important is you as the entrepreneur rather, you don't approach DBJ directly. You go through what's called a business service intermediary. That's a BSI for short.
Right.
And that institution, there's a list of them that's approved by the DBJ.
I think that's on their website.
It is.
Right.
And you go through there to access the grant. And I think that's a really solid and a genius way of approaching the whole scenario, because the business service intermediary is really your point person, and they, in collaboration with DBJ, are your support. So I remember for me, it was okay. Are you formalized?
Right.
Yes.
Register the business properly, name,
Register
trademark,
for everything.
Right.
They go through all of that. And also, it helped me to really start thinking in a business-oriented way, because yes, you have the money and the equipment that it bought, etc. But it forced you to kind of think around KPIs, right? It forced me to kind of have intention about things like, okay, how do I want to market my work? Where do I want my points of sale, so to speak, to be? Thinking not just locally, but overseas. So it really was a whole ecosystem that I think is extremely responsible. It's a responsible way of giving the grant, because you have all of these added support systems, added benefits to it, and it helps you to put the grant to judicious use, right?
Okay. Yeah. So you're moving into the world of work. This is my business now. And did you find that transition a little jarring? I'm not doing art, I'm doing business.
All right, me personally, not really, just because. So fun fact, actually did my degree in pharmacy, so I had I know, so it's kind of left and right brain situation happening, and I had experience in the corporate world. I had that kind of background.
Okay.
So it wasn't jarring, but I remember now and then going, whoa, this is a lot more detailed than I thought it was gonna be. But it was good, because it forced me, it stretched me.
And the support was important in that.
For sure.
You had people who could give you advice, you ask questions. Okay. All right. So we'll have to talk about financing. We've been talking about financing, and it was important for you to be able to get these things, right? The business depends on it, right? And earlier in our interview, you mentioned vision. And I think that's an important part in this process. So the pathway from vision to financing, do you think that without the vision, knowing where you're going and what you want to do, perhaps you shouldn't look for financing just yet?
So my knee-jerk reaction was gonna be, oh, absolutely you shouldn't, but how Ignite is structured, they can help you find your vision along the way. So I think if you have even a rough idea of what you want to do, going through that whole ideation phase, they'll help you to fine-tune along the way. So even though my initial answer was going to be, oh, no, you shouldn't. You should have exactly clear what you want to do A to Z.
Right.
No, they help you.
Okay, I wasn't trying to trap it, but I love how you answered that, because, sometimes it seems as if I don't know every nitty-gritty, there's no help. Entrepreneurship is a big thing by itself.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
So it's good that the DBJ is helping people to make their way.
And also, let me just say,
Please.
just in the context of entrepreneurship, don't be afraid to pivot, right? Because sometimes you go in thinking, oh, I want this. But you can change your mind along the way. So don't feel like whatever you start out, it's in stone, it's in cement, that you have to, no matter what comes, stick with this. There's some amount of pivoting that being an entrepreneur involves. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and they'll help you with that too.
Right, because that was the question I was going to ask. The DBJ allows for the creative process and the building process to happen like this. That's what you're saying. All right.
You still have to have a rough framework, right? But within it, you can absolutely just be transparent along the process.
It sounds like to get a grant with the DBJ or financing, you're getting a partner, not just money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Kian, we have had a pretty good conversation, and there's so much more we could talk about, but we're almost out of time. I don't want to stop this program without giving you that moment to speak directly to our guests. People who haven't necessarily considered digital art as a thing. This is your moment, this is your podium to speak directly to them. Just get something off your heart, encourage them. The floor is yours.
All right. I'd love to tell everyone that as a digital artist, I remember working overseas versus working here, and in Jamaica, people would tend to say, is digital art even legitimate art? What is that? And it was always kind of surprising to me, because I've never had to have that validation overseas. But I want to kind of say digital art is really just creating art through a digital means. So on your iPad, on your computer, on your phone, whatever, using technology to create it. And in my perspective, it really is just another tool. So in painting, you have acrylics, you have oil paints, you have watercolors. Digital is just another tool, and the artistry behind it is as valid as in any other type. And I want to add, it allows you to scale and to collab all across the world, because right now I'm working on 2 projects in Washington, D.C., and I'm right here doing it, right? So I think digital really adds that extra layer of collaboration to it. And all artists out there, it's all about just putting one foot in front of the other, and not trying to romanticize it and think that, oh, it's, rose-colored glasses every day, all day, but just keep going. If you feel like this is your calling, just keep going.
And if I can tack on something there at the end, there is help.
There is help.
There is help. All right, for more information of the products and the services of the DBJ, you can always visit their website, dbankjm.com or thinkbiggie.com. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest has been creative entrepreneur Kian Hutchinson of Kian Patrice Photo Art Design. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.
Criminal minds think they are cunning. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency have them running. Your friend a shout, come here. Take time running. Are we ready for the ops? Drive up on your block. Step out now me black side, but take a boy your laptop. Pull up every lock, no evidence to drop. We put it in a cuffs and now we have the underground. Sin you say scam, you better look out fit. When you move corrupt, better look out fit. Feel say you get wet, look out fit. Look out fit, look out fit. From you say scam, you better look out fit. When you move corrupt, better look out fit. Feel say you get wet, look out fit. Look out fit, look out fit.
The proceeding was brought to you by MOCA, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, with the kind support of NIA and USAID.
Government is resolute in its efforts to maintain a financial system that's free from illicit activities. Find out how this is being done next.
past 30 years, Jamaica has successively failed to successfully arrest and prosecute persons who were allegedly criminally responsible during the FinSAC era, neither those criminally responsible for Cash Plus and Olint, Worldwise, and other such schemes. Similarly, persons allegedly responsible for public sector frauds over much of this period have similarly escaped punishment, regularly meted out to others. With that as our historical context, the SSL fraud has touched especially raw nerves. A nerve that represents the reservoir of distrust that has developed based on what many believe to be the historical Jamaican experience of one law for some and another law for others. A nerve that captures the wells of suspicion that white-collar crimes are processed and treated differently from other crimes. A nerve that characterizes the deep pool of cynicism in our country, where there is sometimes a belief that the real truth is artificially suppressed and nothing ever really changes. These waters of distrust, suspicion, and cynicism are existential threats to our society. It will take time to drain the system of these, but we must begin now. This time must be different. Let me repeat what I have said and what the most honorable Prime Minister has said. There will be full transparency in this matter. No stone will be left unturned. SSL was a relatively small securities dealer, and its problems do not pose a systemic risk to the financial system. There is therefore no need to panic. The financial sector is strong and well capitalized. The financial sector survived the global financial crisis. It survived 2 debt exchanges. It survived the COVID-19 economic shock, the inflation crisis, and it even managed to grow through all of this. Not only is the financial sector strong, it is also resilient. More specifically, the securities dealers industry remains a strong and critical pillar upon which our country, our economy, and our investing public depend. Despite this most unfortunate development, Jamaica's financial sector remains strong. To take the Jamaican financial sector to the next level, the government of Jamaica will review the penalty regimes in the Securities Act, the Banking Act, the Insurance Act, and the Pensions Act. We will stiffen the penalties for white-collar crime in the financial sector. The discrepancy between the sanctions for white-collar crime and other forms of crime must be erased. If you rob depositors or you defraud investors and you put our financial system and our way of life at risk, the Jamaican society wants you put away for a long time. The government of Jamaica will also require security dealers to publish their financial statements and material events at standards equivalent to public companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The government of Jamaica will tighten regulations around connected party transactions for security dealers. The government will introduce a fixed penalty regime where companies can be fined for AML, CFT, and other breaches. The government will tighten regulations around insider trading and ensure that the penalty and sanctions regime is severe and dissuasive. The government will tighten regulations in such a manner that ensures that the penalty and sanctions regime against front-running of clients in capital markets is severe and dissuasive. We will require technical assistance from our international partners in the design of these reforms and in advising us of additional reforms that may be necessary.
How have you been treating your body? Are you getting regular checkups? Are you eating right? What about getting the well-needed rest? Get more tips next.
COVID has taught us many things, and among those is that the dynamics of our environment has shifted somewhat in terms of how people think about themselves in their natural space. I mean, one of the greatest manifestations of that is the workplace. The workplace has changed because of COVID, because Jamaicans, the global citizen, have come to terms with their mortality, now so more than any other time in the world. Because COVID, as I said, has been the greatest equalizer known to man during this last 100 years. Everybody was afraid at some point in time that COVID would have gotten us and would have taken us out. And it never really mattered whether we had money or were poor, whether we're in North America or in Jamaica. And as a human instinct would dictate, many persons are now rethinking how they work, where they work, what time they work, and the concept of self-care and taking care of self, family, community is becoming a lot more relevant. That represents for us an opportunity, particularly because we exist in a pandemic of lifestyle-related ailments. It is how we live that is facilitating our demise to a large extent. The cardiovascular disease, the salts, the sugars, the fats, the tobacco, the alcohol, the lack of rest, the lack of physical activity. We have to get people nudged into greater health-seeking behavior. It cannot just be about cure, it has to be about prevention. And some of it we may have to legislate, like tobacco legislation, like school nutrition policy and what is served in our schools, like sugary drink, our foundation championed that, like the right of people to know what's in their foods, front of package labeling. But the reality is that generally Jamaicans don't like to get a checkup. They go doctor when they're sick. So while we single out men for being a little, afraid, it's better to bear the perception of being violated and detecting your prostate troubles early than to wait until it's too late. And at that stage, the violation don't really matter. So we're going to have to be bold about that and engage in greater community outreach. But I think we have to also advocate for people, Jamaicans, to do their annual screening.
Let us resolve our family disputes peacefully. A family is a circle of love, support, and strength. Violence has no place.
We've come to the end of Jamaica Magazine, but only for today. But you can rewatch today's offering or other content like this by visiting our website, jis.gov.jm. Be sure to join us again tomorrow on this same station as we bring you another exciting installment of Jamaica Magazine. On behalf of all of us here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. See you next time.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.